City of Hampton, here's something, I don't know if you knew this. It was built up, burned down. The whole thing burned down and born again, and the whole story is told inside a small museum that makes a big impression. Here's this week's postcard from Hampton Roads. Well, this replica of the pirate Blackbeard's head on a stick is certainly one of the more talked about pieces in the Hampton History Museum, but every item in this building tells the story of this small city and really the story of how America was born and sustained. I want to introduce you to curator Mike Cobb, and one of the first things I noticed when I came through was that this museum does not start with the first English settlers in Hampton, but rather with the folks that were already here.
Native Americans have been here for 12,000 years, Carrie. In 1607, when the English arrived, Powhatan Indians lived here. Headed by Powhatan himself, the main village was in Gloucester, and he had satellite villages throughout Virginia along the riverways. In 1607, when Captain John Smith and Christopher Newport and 104 English men and boys arrived for the first time in Virginia, and they had a wonderful dinner with the Indians in the dry, smoky lodges of Kicquetan.
When you talk about the history of Hampton, it's a very interesting story. Sometimes it's a sad story.
It is, and it's America's story. The history here follows the American story as a whole. During the American Civil War, August 7th, 1861, Confederate soldiers come down from Yorktown with the intention of burning this town to the ground. And that evening, the rebels come down in the dark on their horses, and they tie the horses to the west wall of St. John's Church. They dismount. They move down Queen Street with torches in their hands. They set the town ablaze. A breeze came up that night. Over 500 houses were set afire. People in Norfolk and through Hampton Roads would have seen the flames. They did this so the Federals could not use this town to billet troops. And it was the first act of total war in the American Civil War, and it happened here in Hampton. After the Civil War, people from the North came here to settle. Newly freed African Americans are free to work and make their living. Rebels who had come back from the Army were here. It's an interesting mix, and together they shape this world, and they find that there is money to be made on the water. And very soon, Carrie, Hampton has one of the largest packing plants for oysters and crabs in the entire world. J.S. Darling & Son, McMiniman & Company. Hampton becomes known as Crab Town, as people make their living from the water, and Hampton is a scene of crab packing plants along the riverways, and the Hampton River is full of workboats. It is truly a working community connected to the water.
Right. And you could say from there, the rest is history. There are many reasons to come down and see what Hampton is today. But if you want to see how this city became what it is now, make sure you stop by the Hampton History Museum. And when you get here, tell them the Hampton Roadshow sent you. It was neat, and there are great pictures and things in there, but there are a couple of exhibits you actually walk through. You walk through that Native American village, and then you kind of walk through what the bottom of a ship would look like as it was transporting goods back and forth. And you also have an area where you can walk through like a burned out part of town. So if you were planning on, say, taking the kids to Air and Space or something else up in Hampton, it's worth, stopping at the museum as well as part of your day. No, it's all right there downtown. It doesn't take a long time to get through the museum, and it's really neat. But I mean, it's amazing how much happened to the town of Hampton in a relatively short time.